Hello, welcome to episode 39 of Love is a Battlefield, the Domestic Violence Podcast. My name is Tilly Moore, and today we're talking about the narcissist discard. What is it, and how does it feel, and what is it all about, and why do they do it? Why are men? So, but let's get into it. So, why did I choose this topic? Well, for a while now on the socials, on the social media, I have seen women bringing it up in various settings, in different narcissism places and everything, and talking about the narcissist discard and how painful it is, and they might be actively enduring it and not sure what's going on, and obviously they're trauma bonded and they love them and they really want them back. And I realized I haven't really talked about it on my podcast because the one that went to prison, the really, really bad DV perpetrator, didn't do it to me because he was a very stalker. But I remembered he actually did try it once. It just didn't work. So today is dedicated to anyone who has been the victim of a narcissist discard. And it is very important to talk about. So let's get going. I wish I had a cool sweeper here. Now, usually, if I'm going to talk about a topic, I will look at an article and find the actual official definition, but I'm going to do that right now. I'm gonna get into story time because I love a story time. Don't you just love a story time? I love a story time. I'm not telling it. Telling it's not as cool as listening. I love listening to story times. And if this is boring, like put hot tip. Like in Spotify, every time I'm listening to someone talk or a podcast, I put it on like 1.5, 1.75, and I have gaps of like trying to think with a brain. Um, trying to be a person. And so yeah, you gotta like 1.5 speed me or something because there's a lot of like gaps where I'm like, oh, where are the thoughts? What am I saying? Where are the words? Make the words come out the mouth. But honestly, listening to story times, I love it. So I thought, no, I'm just gonna get into that part because the other part's boring. Like maybe we'll get there later. So what I wanted to tell you was, why did my very, very narcissistic, very psychopathic, very criminal, went to prison, bad domestic abuser, not do a narcissist discard when narcissist discard is like such a big thing? Well, one, narcissists don't always do discard. They can do the stalking and the breaking into your house kind of thing, but they can do anything. They can do any kind of thing, discard or not discard or Hoover and all that stuff. They just do whatever will get the response they want. That's how narcissists are. Everything and anything a narcissist does is merely to get the reaction and response and control a situation to get things happening that they want to happen. Everything is a means to an end. Nothing is done from the heart. Like, we are normal people. We are people with hearts and feelings. We do things because we're human and humans think and love and feel. So that's why we do things. Whereas a narcissist, they have no empathy. They're kind of like evil. And so they only do things if it has a response they want. So you might have had a narcissist do a discard where they just treat you like crap, do all the narcissistic behaviors, all the narcissistic abuse, but they don't actually like ever hoover. Like, you might have heard my episodes about hoovering, where you leave them or they leave you or something, and then they try and suck you back. Like, you might have heard, oh, it takes, it can happen like a day later, a week later, a month later, or even years later, they randomly can contact you because, they've had, because, they always have more than one woman on the go, no matter how committed and how engaged and living with you and everything they are, like how like into that relationship, married, kids, everything, no matter how often you see them, if they're stuck to your hip, they still have side pieces somewhere. They have to have narcissistic supply. So there's always some woman somewhere entertaining them, even if it's just a message now and then. There's always side pieces. So you might not hear from them for years, but you might have heard that. You might have heard of them hoovering back, and you might have thought, mine just threw me out like trash. And where's my hoover? Where's my stalking? Why are they not breaking into my house? Why are they just treating me like I never existed? Well, my not a real question to you, but like rhetorical question to you is, it hurt, didn't it? And it got the reaction they wanted. They have control of you. It's proven to them that you are very trauma bonded and committed to them. And you're like putty in their hands now because of the pain they've put you through by abandoning you. So now they have more power and control over you. Whereas if they just stayed or stalked you, you might have not You know, when someone leaves you, obviously, this is what the whole thing's about, and then you get desperate. It's like a drug. So everyone knows that the neurochemicals that cause a trauma bond, like if you don't know, go back and listen to the trauma bond episode, and it talks about the neurochemicals, how your brain is literally addicted to this person because of that person causes your brain to release all the good neurochemicals. And it's just so used to these your dopamine, your serotonin, your endorphins, and all this stuff like rolling around, like all your love hormones, your oxytocin, everything. Oh, lovely. And they love bomb and groom you to release that. And so your brain is addicted to them, not to them, to the neurochemicals. They do these things to release those. And then they deprive you of it. They make you go cold turkey by just cutting you off and throwing you out. So then you are in withdrawal. And when you're in withdrawal from those neurochemicals, that love feeling, you will do pretty much anything they say to get like a dose. And it is all the same parts of the brain that drug addicts and other addicts of other things experience. And so that's why I feel like I know it sounds weird, but I can understand like addiction a bit more, because it's the same parts of the brain that react and just need that. And so you'll be like desperate, like needing them, and that lowers your natural boundaries to this person. So just they might discard you if you are saying, oh, well, why are you staying back late at work, or why you're asking questions, or you're negotiating something with them, or figuring out where you're going to live, or there's something they want to control you for or something. And then if they discard you, then you get desperate and you'll be like, oh yeah, 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 like, or we'll live where you want, or we'll move in together sooner than I want then, or we'll go and do this, or oh, I'll stop talking to that person if you want. Like, I don't know what they want, but there's something they want, and it's just easy to wear you down to get what they want. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's not that clear. Maybe they just randomly did it out of nowhere because they thrive on power and control. Knowing you are stressed, you are trying to contact them, you're texting them, you're trying to call them, and they're blocking you. Every time you try and text and call them, when they've done the narcissist discard, they get their drug. They're a drug of addiction. Their drug of addiction is power and control. So their brain releases all these amazing neurochemicals when they get their little hit of power and control, or whatever they perceive to be power and control. Like you and I are like, we're normal. We don't need power and control. We don't get off on it. They get off on it. Oh, they get off on it. So knowing you're sitting there stressing, every text you send or every attempt at communication you try when they've discarded makes them feel so big and powerful. Like, she wants me. She's desperate for me. Look how desperate she is. Ugh, I have complete control over her right now. I feel so big. And so they're just going to stay away. Ages, they'll also be out there doing their thing with other women. I'm so sorry if you're going through this right now. Heartbreaking, horrible. Oh my gosh, I did have one that did it to me. Yes. Oh, I was so young then. It was so, oh my gosh. Sorry, this is just live. It's just hit me. I was like 21 or about to turn 22 or just turned 22. I think I just turned 22. Yeah. And we'd been living together for like a year with roommates. And then we moved in with just us. And he said he wanted to. Like, he didn't say he didn't want to, because his he was a little bit abusive. Like, and his roommate stood up to him once when he was abusing me. Like, he's nothing like this bad one that went to prison. Like, it makes him look like a freaking angel, but he was abusive. And his roommate stood up against him once, but then um he said, you're on your own to me after that, because he fought back with him, and he just like, I'm not getting involved anymore. And so I think because of that, like, he was kind of trying to isolate me from the roommates anyway. We had a couple of roommates, and just so he had that, power and control kind of thing. And so we were going to move out alone together, and we talked about it for ages, and then we organized a place, and everything was fine, and we were moving in there, and everything was good. Like, he never raised that he didn't want to, or he had doubts or anything. Like, he was keen. Like, it was just our plan that we had discussed together. And we'd been living together over a year and everything. And then we moved in, and I think 3 days later, he just disappeared. Like, gone. And this is before the internet. Oh, I mean, the internet was invented, but it wasn't like we didn't have all the stuff we have today, or ways of contacting people we have today. So, yeah, he just disappeared, and I guess he might have had a phone, I guess, back then we did. Did we? Yeah. And he probably just turned it off or whatever. And he was just gone, like ghosted, just gone. And I was nursing in a very big hospital in Brisbane, the Royal Brisbane Hospital at the time, and I would come into work just broken, like heartbroken. I've never forgotten. I've talked to this nurse, and she's like, "Oh, heartbreak. It's like that pain in your tummy, isn't it?" And she just described it so well. And she was pregnant at the time, happily married. She was lovely, and I've gone on to say that to other girls now that say, "Oh, break up with my boyfriend." I'm like, "Oh, do you have that pain in your tummy, like that really yucky feeling?" They're like, "Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's how you just." They're like, "Oh, you understand." And so, like, just someone understanding that you're going through that ugh feeling, and I just, yeah, had all the like withdrawals, like, and also what's going on. Like, I wanted to stay there, and then a very controlling parental figure came and forcefully removed me. That's an when you've got people who are all like not good around you, all loving to control women around you, like life is not peachy. But so that didn't turn out too well. I could afford to stay alone, but I yeah, it was, yeah, not a good situation with the other end of the thing, but yeah, and then like months later contacts me, and who slowly over time hoovers back. And so I was like, what even was that? And then I eventually got the guts to just one day go, no, no. I actually, gosh, I was smart. Like, eventually, I'd been with him for years, but I hit a point and I went, no one's going to come to the wedding. Like, if I'm marrying this person, I just imagine no friends or family would come. And when you're young, like I think I was, yeah, 21, 22, when you're that age, like you've got a lot of friends from school, friends from work, friends from uni. You got like a lot of people around you. And so you know that there'd be like a lot of people. Now when you get older, there's like not many people around. But when you're young, you know, you got all these people around you. And I thought no one will come. No one will come. Like, why would I want to be married to someone if like no one had even come to my wedding, or the few that would come would just come because they felt they had to, and they'd be all sad and angry at me. And I just realized, and then the trauma bond just like lifted. It was like a blessing. And I broke up with him. But it was after he'd kind of hoovered back. We didn't live together. So we weren't, and I was so hurt from what he'd done, but it gave me closure too because I did it on my terms. And then I just said, sorry, like that's that. And then he went and impregnated this girl, and then she was a single mom, and yeah, like he just, yeah. I still have contact with this person. They're going to get married soon actually, which is really good. That it's not me, but that they found their person. Um and they say they've grown up a lot, and I don't know, they seem really happy, so hopefully, because he was really young, dumb, and full of joy. But yeah, there's that story there. That just like literally hit me. Like I had been discarded, like a narcissist discard, and just ghosted. And the term ghosted didn't even exist back then, and no answers. And then when he did hoover back, he was like, "Oh, I was just kind of freaking out that we were going to live together, just you and me. That meant we were like de facto married and like committed, and it was just scary. And I just freaked out. And so I went off with this mate. It was actually the mate that stood up for me when he was being abusive. But yeah, and they were just going out partying and picking up girls or whatever. And yeah, it hurt. It hurt a lot. And then obviously I was able to be hoovered back, even though it was months later. But those months in between, when you have no contact, it actually disconnects the trauma bond. So I wasn't as trauma bonded. There was still a bit left, but luckily it was enough that I could date him for a few months and then go, yeah, this isn't good. This is not healthy. I have to leave. And that's probably the smartest thing I ever did in my dating history, because yeah, it's been a lot. Like, go me. So that was, oh, that's a story, but that was like so long ago. And I called him like my first DV, like abuser, but never like called him a narcissist because we were so young, and I'm not going to say, oh, he wasn't that bad. Like, he was not good. He was not good. But I think because we were both ADHD, that's where we really bonded. And then obviously he had these moments, but it wasn't. Oh, I don't know if he played. I don't know, like, because I've had worse, but I'm not minimizing. That's for sure. Like he wasn't that good, but he wasn't. You know how narcissists are so evil and creepy and just evil. He obviously had these moments, but it just didn't give that whole Chris Watts vibe. Like my criminal is definitely Chris Watts vibe, and the pedophile and like bad ones are definitely like psychopathic Chris Watts vibe. Whereas this guy was just not good, bit of a dickhead, but not that full raging like psychopathy, scary, evil, demonic thing. Anyway, but what I wanted to tell you was this little example in the one with the criminal as to why he didn't use narcissist discard. Because I was thinking of that, like all these people saying they got discard, and he just kept stalking and broke in and literally broke in like, you are mine. And I'm like, and how is this going to end? Not very well for you, buddy. You're going to prison. Literally, while being held hostage, I may have said something. Like it's a long night. It was a long, long night and morning. Like it took me a long, long time to fight non-stop to get free and escape. It was hours and hours and hours. And there may have been a point where I said, well, how's this going to end? Because I'm like, why are you doing this? And he's just like, because you are meant to be with me. And I think his theory was he could convince me, like, i.e., gaslight and manipulate me, brainwash, to be with him. If he broke in and held me hostage, he could use all his powers of manipulation that he was quite cocky about because I wasn't his first victim. He had managed to manipulate so many people prior to me, adults, children, relatives, friends, colleagues, everyone. He had hit a point of being so cocky that he believed he had the power to control and manipulate anyone. And so obviously he thought, okay, I'll break in. I know there's some trauma bond there, like he knew, and I'll hold her hostage and I will convince her that she is to be with me. And by the end of however long it takes, we will be together and she will keep her mouth shut about what I did. I think that was his theory. But you can't go, you can't, I won't go into all the details because it'll be a whole episode again. You can't go doing the things he did and just be like, yeah, we're so in love. Like, this is amazing. Like, what? No. So there was a point where after he said his kind of like why he did it, I was like, well, that's not happening. So eventually people are going to know I'm missing or they're going to turn up here. Then what? And he was planning to lie and manipulate them. And just, yeah, because he thought he was the all powerful manipulator, which he actually really was a lot of the time. So we can see where that came from, which was that was his weapon. Oh, besides being able to literally throw people and beat the living crap out of them, being very, very physically overpowering as well. So, why did he not use discard? Well, let me tell you. Wait, I forgot to tell you my smart ass comment. I think I've said it before that when he had said, oh, why is keeping me? I was like, yeah, you're going to prison. You know things you shouldn't say when you've got someone who's literally like I've not forgotten. There was one point where I knew he was making the decision to kill me or not because he'd already done the strangle nearly murder thing where he was going to murder me. Like he was like, and then the death gurgle scared him and he freaked out. I think he went, well, no, like he's like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. Starts doing it and doing it for ages, and then the death gurgles. He's like, wait, I just, I'm not gonna do this right now. And that's why they say anyone who strangles you is then gonna. There's like stats on how they're probably gonna then murder you because he was attempting to murder me. The death gurgles freaked him out. And he thought, oh no, I'll do it like another time. Like he's still going to do it. He just like, it just freaks him out. And then like, but that's why they say statistically, that's why they're so hard on people who with prison who strangle you, because they are more likely to finish you off at a later date. Statistically, they do come back and try and kill you because that is a symptom and sign of a future homicide on you. So there you go. So yeah, I did say a smart ass comment in that time where I was like, yeah, you're going to jail. Did that go down well? Well, let me tell you, no. That did not go down well. It got the crap beaten out of me. But gosh, it felt good because I was right. For once, a woman was right. He did go to jail. Oh, so I'm glad I said it. You can't help yourself. You've been held hostage for hours and hours and hours. You fought your heart out to survive. You've seen that moment. There was this moment I've never forgot where, like, I knew in that moment he was going, do I kill her? I can kill her right now. Like, am I going to kill her? Like, I just knew there was just this moment and he kind of held it off a little bit longer. Like, he was holding off doing this thing that he was going to do. Well, that's what it felt like, and definitely what I sensed in like this one specific moment. But yeah, I did sort of say that one point. And I knew it was kind of stupid, but I was held hostage for it just felt like because I just kept fighting. I didn't just do what I was told. And I was kept trying to escape and survive because I thought if I stay, I'm going to be a statistic. Like just keep fighting, fighting. You don't want to be a statistic. Keep fighting, keep fighting. And I just thought if he's going to do it, he has full power and control over me. Like I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. And I'd even said to him, like, if you're going to do it, like, let's get the show on the road. Like, I didn't really say that, but I was just like, if you're going to do it, like, it was getting to that point, like, this is so many hours in, and it was just like, are we done yet? It's hard to explain. Just everything I say, I keep saying it out loud and it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound accurate. And it just makes me sound like a douchebag. Like, why would you say that when this person who had tried to kill you and is like literally probably going to kill you has you? Why would you like say, oh, you can kill me? Or why would you say, you're going to jail? I obviously didn't for a long time, but then it hit a point where I was like, I was done. Like I had fought and fought and fought and fought nonstop for hours. And I just hit a point where I was like, fuck it. What the fuck is going on? Like, what? I'm done. Like, I was done. I was cooked. I was a roast chicken and I was cooked. Ding, ding, get it out of the oven. Like, what is going on? And so I just, out of exhaustion, just went, what are you doing? Like, you're going to kill me? Like, what's going on? And said something like, well, it looks like you're probably going to go to prison then because this is serious. Like, what are you doing? Maybe I said it to give him some insight into like how serious it was and maybe negotiate like getting free. There might have been something like that. Now I sort of joke about, oh, I said that, but really it was probably me trying to you know, I don't know, do some rapport thing or like negotiate on trying to like get free to say, hey, you could go to jail. Like you should let me go because it's getting quite serious. You know, maybe I think it was driven by more of that, but I prefer to initially take the humor route because we got to make fun out of trauma because if you don't, it's just trauma and you're meant to be miserable. There's people on social media who go, oh, well, that person doesn't look like they've just been like, there's someone whose wife is missing or something. And, we always think it's man and, we're all guilty of it because it usually is. But they'll think, oh, well, they don't look sad. Or a mum who's lost their child, they're like, well, she doesn't look sad. We saw her, like, the paps will, like, take a picture of her walking down the street. And they're like, well, she didn't look sad. She was smiling when she was talking to a friend. I wouldn't be smiling if my kid was missing. And the mum had to go and get, like, food from a shop or something to feed her other kids or something. Someone talked to her and she politely smiled at them in a conversation. The thing is, when you've had a severe trauma or you're going through a trauma, you are still you and you smile. You have to make humor. Not obviously, she wouldn't have made jokes about her child missing or something, but you would have to like say other things and other topics and laugh about things and still be you for survival, because if all you do is think about that and dwell on that and you have to look miserable 24/7, yeah, it's not good. You're not gonna survive like mentally well and stuff. And so that's just what we do to survive. What I'm gonna do now is finally finally get to the point and tell you why that criminal abuser did not use narcissistic discard on me. So yeah, and he went the stalking, breaking in route. So I had attempted to leave him from probably 6 months into the relationship. I believe he started abusing, literally overnight, just started 4 months in. And then I have a zero tolerance policy. I think I was in a situation where it was very difficult to leave, like residing wise. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm not, I don't give away too much. But so it did take like 2 months, and 2 months to sort of establish this is a problem. This is not changing. This is ongoing. No. And then with threats and everything, 6 months later was hoovered back, and then was with them for a while, and then they got arrested, and after that point it was off, but then they tried to make contact again, and then that is where this is like the following year, then they're telling people that, oh no, we're together, but we weren't. So as you can see from that kind of rough thing where I can't actually give years to explain the timeline, there I was pretty much trying to leave them on a constant basis from 6 months in. And then like the hoovering and everything, and oh, I really want to give away years because it just helps with the story, but I won't. And I was always trying to get free of them, and they were always hoovering, always love bombing and grooming, and then abusing, and this whole cycle of abuse. And the reason they didn't do narcissistic discard is because he did try once, and I actually laugh. Honestly, I can't wait till you get to the part of healing where you can just laugh at them and think, what an absolute dickhead. And you laugh, but you're still like traumatized by like how horrifically evil these people are. Yeah, he tried it once. He's like, yeah, he tried it. Like, he's like, oh, well, then that's it. That's it. And I said, do you promise? Because I kept trying to leave him. Like, the whole thing was me trying, like, and then the threats, and then the hoovering, and the manipulation, and the stuff. Like, so he did try it once, and I was like, yeah, please. Okay, cool. And he would threaten to leave me. I'm like, is that a promise? Like, and I said, no, actually, I mean it. Like, can we not be together? Like, if you are ready, like you're telling me you want to leave the relationship, because he'd try that whole, well, I realized like you're not good enough for me and I deserve, like, how they try and like say you're the bad guy and everything. And try to do this whole speech of how he thinks we should end things and everything. And this was him trying to do the discard because he wanted control, because he wasn't getting, enough power and control or whatever the situation was. I think I had said, I don't like being abused. So he tried, and I said it like that. I hadn't gone off. I just said it like that. You couldn't go off with this person. They were always quick to tell you that you were not good and you were the bad guy and everything was your fault. They were always quick to say that. And so he started that speech. And this time he started this genuine, like, yeah, I really think we should end things speech. And he expected that I would react like, no, please, no, I want you. But he, like, had he picked up what I was putting down? Like, I actively kept saying, I don't want to be in an abusive relationship. I want to leave. And maybe he didn't realize that I was still like, I still don't want to be in an abusive relationship. So he tried it, and I said, really? No, honestly, is that how you feel? Because let's do it. Let's break up. And then, okay, great. So are we just going to be on like polite terms when we see each other in this place that I can't tell you about because it's identifying information? Like, when we see each other in any kind of place, are we going to, just act like, professional and say hi and like walk past each other and keep getting on with our lives? Or are we, are we going to just ignore each other? Like, yep, I'm really like, this is great. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. And I said, when I said, I agree. Oh, he did not like that. He honestly expected the opposite, and me to grovel and me to give him power and control. So that's what the narcissist discard is all about. If it works, if it gets them what they want, they'll do it. The one that did it when I was younger, yeah, he was obviously like not like narcissistic evil kind of Yeah, as I said, he didn't give Chris whatsoever. So he wasn't doing the whole narcissist discard. He was not a very nice person, so he probably had a touch of that. But he was actually like, oh my gosh, I'm not communicating about what I'm doing and I'm moving in alone with this girl. Oh my gosh, we live together now. Oh wow, I'm freaking out. I'm just going to go ghost her and put myself first. So it was kind of a different situation. It wasn't like a narcissist discards you because it gives them power and control. They might usually discard because there's a side piece. So they want to run off with the side piece. Give that a go. Act like they're shitty with you about something and they're genuinely ending in a relationship with you, but they actually want to try this side piece. See how they are. See if they want to make them their, because they have number 1, 2, 3, 4 or something. Want to make them their main. Assess them to see what's going on there. But if they get bored of them and think, nah, I want to go back to her, she was more fun, they'll like within 2 weeks they'll come back to you and like hoover you back or something, and they'll just play with you and play with them. And don't think, oh, he left and he never came back, he found the side piece better. Like, no one's better when it comes to these things. You and the other woman, if a narcissist chooses the other woman, it's not because they're better. Women need to stop competing. No one's better than anyone else, no one's worse than anyone else. Narcissists will choose the person that they believe they have the most power and control over and who will serve all their little insecure, like psycho needs the best. Not, oh, she's better at sex or she's better at being nice. No. Who's more vulnerable? Whose family is less intrusive in their life? Who's easier to isolate from their friends? Whose career aligns with my plan of total annihilation of her life? Who can I destroy but will still serve me? Like, it's not a flex for a narcissist to choose you over someone else. So a discard is a blessing in disguise, but the worst thing is when you are trauma bonded because you believe this person loves you and you love them, and then suddenly they're gone and it hurts. And I feel for you. Anyone going through this or has gone through this, I feel for you because your brain, as far as you know, you're absolutely in love with this person and you're in a relationship with them and then they're just gone. It F's you up. Oh, I just thought of another example in my life. Oh my gosh. I'm not getting into it. But yes, sorry, I looked down then. It's not good. It's all just a means to an ends for them, and it's all related to power and control. They do it because it works. They do it because they want to run off with the side piece for a bit, but keep you to come back to or keep you as a backup option. Like, they're actually, like, if a narcissist is going to leave a girl for someone else, they're not just going to leave for someone else. They're going to do a like little narcissist discardy ghosty thing or something and then go to that someone else, and but keep you as a side piece, like keep you as like another option. They have to have other options. As we know, Chris Watts had the new girl, gaslit her, manipulated her. She thought he was probably separated with the wife, but they were just organizing the sale of the house and separating, the lies. Once I had an ex lie that he slept in this other room and I made him live with me. We were married and living as a married couple, completely in love, as far as I knew. But he lied. So I've had that happen. So they do lie a lot. So, and one thing I'm actually jacked off with is with the Chris Watts thing is people keep commenting on social media, blaming the side piece for the murder of the children and the wife, saying she had something to do with it. She drove him to something. Honestly, you can be in the car with your narcissist and you can have dead bodies in the boot and you wouldn't even know it. These men are so manipulative, so evil, so controlling. They have you wrapped around their little finger. She is a victim in this situation. She was someone he manipulated and he convinced her of this whole story, how him and the wife knows about you, the ex-wife, sorry, knows about you, and she's cool with this. Oh yeah, we're separated. We just got to like sell the house, so we're living in it until we can sort it out. Oh no, we got this situation. Like the lies she would have been told. She wouldn't have known the wife was actually a wife. She would have thought a lot of lies. She would have, because he's feeding her that, and she would have been absolutely effed in the head when she found out what happened. She had nothing to, like, she's not this evil new woman. People are so, like, they don't actually understand narcissistic abuse and how these, like, psychopaths work. She would have had no idea. She could have driven him out there and sat in the car while he did things. And they're just so manipulative. They have these, I mean, she wasn't, but they can have these ways of hiding things from you in plain sight. They're so manipulative. There's no way she was involved. And I'm really sick of hearing that on social media. These men, like people who hate you, who are friends with your abuser, are just as much a victim because they're a victim of this manipulation. His family, the mothers, they gaslight, manipulate their mothers because they will always want their mother to be their biggest cheerleader. So they just manipulate them, go, oh, I love you, mum, and all this bullshit. But really, no, the mothers are just a game, a little piece, a little chess piece in this game they're playing. And it's not cool and it's not healthy. So, yeah, a lot of that stems from just misogyny in society, patriarchy, misogyny, internalized misogyny, where people want to blame women. They want to, oh, you know, another thing. So, tangent, tangent, tangent upon tangent upon tangent. We got tangent icing on a tangent cake. People, the women who write to Chris Watts in prison, you know, women who kill men in self-defense or something would not get the mail and the love and the fan mail that Chris Watts gets. There's a really, oh, what was I watching? You might have seen it, where I don't even know where it is now. I'm sorry, but it was a random documentary I found somewhere on the internet or somewhere where his cellmate was talking about him and saying how he got so much fan mail from women. And the women were saying that they were like in love with him. He was so good looking. They wanted to be in relationships with him. They didn't believe he did it, even though like he did it. Like the evidence is like beyond. Like, I'm sorry, I say like a lot, but uh, and other ones that are like, oh well, you know, it's not your fault. We understand the pressures of being a man. You see it every day on social media, the internalized misogyny of women. I didn't even know what internalized misogyny was a few years ago, and now my eyes are open. Once your eyes are open, and being a survivor of DV actually opens your eyes to feminism, and you learn about feminism, and you learn about the injusticeness of like injustices, is that a word? Of being like women, female and male, and the differences, and how men are always honored for being so strong, but they're actually weaker. They're physically stronger but weaker, like mentally, like emotionally and everything, which is fine. They're physically stronger, like they get that win, they get to lift heavy stuff, and defend themselves from predators. We get murdered and stuff, but like we can cry about things and move on. Generally speaking, I mean, generally speaking, there's always differences. We're all a bunch of mystery mixed up people. But basically, that just makes you sick, doesn't it? That all these women, because we have this empathy, we have this nurturing thing in us, you know, caveman times. We are designed to have empathy and nurture. And that's why, you know, cases where like a woman has an accident, ends up in a wheelchair, the man she was with will often leave her. There are cases, like there's a case in Australia where a girl was burnt in a bushfire and her man stayed with her and he was honored like a king. Like people could not believe he stayed with her because she looks different from the burns. And she's had a lot of surgeries and she's gorgeous. She's so gorgeous and she's in the media a lot now because they got to be famous because people could not get over that he stayed with her, yet she got burnt on her face. Because a man is expected that he will leave if a woman is not up to par, because that's just society and misogyny and everything. And yet women will stand by a man who has done horrific things to women and children, and they know about it, but oh well. Or they'll have empathy and they'll stay with. We just have this internal like misogyny and internal empathy where we just have the ability to care for people who are not very nice, but we just have this love in us and this compassion to be able to care. But then it sort of puts women in positions of writing letters to Chris Watson. These are not one or two letters. Apparently there were like a lot, like a lot, to the point he said, "Oh, you can have this one. You can write to her if you want." And the cellmate ended up marrying or something, I think, the one he was writing to. And the reason she was writing to Chris was she wanted Chris, but then she married the cellmate or something. And she did kind of present as someone who may have some trauma in their childhood and stuff. So it's, I don't know, it just sucks. It just sucks how a few things are, and that is a massive tangent. So finally, right at the end here, I'm just going to read and find an actual definition about narcissist discard. And this one is from simplepsychology.org. Narcissist discard refers to a pattern of behavior exhibited by individuals with NPD. Okay, I've also seen this on social media. Yes, it's a tangent, but it's very important. I've seen people say, "Oh, I'm with this guy," and this is what I would literally probably have posted back when I was with mine. So, no hate. I will 100% want to post this. He hasn't been diagnosed as narcissist, but he does XYZ. So, he kind of acts like it, but he's not diagnosed. Narcissists do not get diagnosed. That's part of narcissism. They will only get diagnosed if a diagnosis serves them and really serves them. Like in a criminal thing, they will admit that, "Oh, I'm not really well. I'm a victim of this horrible mental syndrome thing, this disorder I have. I'm the victim of a disorder." If it served them, they would get diagnosed, but they rarely, rarely do. There are ones on TikTok going, "I have narcissistic personality disorder," and they're getting a lot of money, a lot of attention. They are feeding their narcissistic desires. It's literally feeding their narcissism. And yeah, I've mentioned them before. So your narcissist, we say narcissist because they're ticking boxes. They are ticking so many boxes that are so the DV 101 textbook, how to abuse women and children, or how to abuse others. Not necessarily always women and children, but you know, they are never gonna be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. You are not gonna date a man who does narcissistic abuse on you and he's being confirmed diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder. That is extremely rare. I'm sure it can happen. Extremely rare. So don't, and they will make you feel bad. If you call them a narcissist, they'll say, "I'm not a narcissist. I saw a psychologist and they said I was great. And I saw a psychologist to be cleared." Oh, that's what that abuser that went to prison was. "I saw a psychologist to get cleared for my gun license. So I know I'm sane. So you're not sane." And I'm like, "You're a manipulator. Of course you sat there convincing them that you're well enough to own a firearm because that was your goal." And that proves nothing. They can manipulate anyone that they're fine, they're okay, have a laugh with them. "Yeah, I'm well, I'm great." It's all part of it. They don't get diagnosed unless they want to get diagnosed. And they are very manipulative, charming, charming creatures when they want to mask. And it is a mask. So I read on. So don't let them say, "I'm not diagnosed, you can't call me that." You can call them whatever you want because they're abusive and they deserve it. I've come to that realization. You know how you try and be the good guy through the whole relationship? And for police, you have to be the good guy because they're just not going to have a clear, solid case if they can prove that you didn't cross all your T's and dot your I's. Like, you have to be the perfect human being and just take the abuse and just be like, "So nice and amazing," to get justice. Literally, that's how it is. But at the end of the day, if you say, "Hey, you're being a narcissist," and they go, "You can't do that. You'll call me names. You'll diagnose me. You have no right to," shut up. Just, they can shut up. You're acting like one. If it looks like shit and it smells like shit, it's shit. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Stop acting like a narcissist and I won't call you one. Pull your head in, mate. Anyway, let's read this article. So it's where they abruptly end a relationship or discard someone who was once a source of narcissistic supply. So you weren't in a relationship. They said you were. They said they loved you. They probably got engaged to you. They probably married you. I don't know. But you were just a source of narcissistic supply. Ugh, these evil creatures. This is the last phase of the narcissistic love pattern. Oh, yeah, getting discarded without them stalking you. Anyway, narcissistic discard is usually not a peaceful or gentle process. No, it can be sudden and unexpected, leaving the partner devastated and abandoned. Not all narcissists act in the same way, so how they discard you can vary. Although the narcissist is done with you and the relationship at this stage, in some cases, they still want to ensure they leave as the winner. They might blame all their problems on you, making you responsible for their behavior and the breakdown of the relationship. In other cases, the narcissist may cut off all contact, ignore the other person's attempts to communicate, or move on to a new source of narcissistic supply, without regard for the emotional impact on the discarded partner. In general, their abusive and manipulative tactics tend to escalate during this stage. They might gaslight you into believing that you are the problem and deny any responsibility themselves. You might face accusations, verbal abuse, and threats, or they might stonewall you and treat you like you mean nothing to them. See, it's all just a game. To them, obviously, not to you. Because of their lack of empathy and sometimes sadistic qualities, a narcissist will want to see you suffer. They want that reaction. That's what they want. They will often try to get as much out of you as they can. Example, your money. Yes, at the end, they just try and steal. Belongings and even your sanity before departing. The narcissist discard phase can be catastrophic, making you realize you have been in an abusive relationship all along. If you consistently notice these signs in a pattern of behavior from your partner, it may indicate narcissistic tendencies or narcissistic personality disorder. Therefore, understanding narcissistic discard and learning how to cope can be helpful in navigating the aftermath of this traumatic experience and recovering emotionally. Signs of narcissistic discard with examples. The discard phase can happen quickly or abruptly. It can be a long, painful process. Even if things seem to be going well, your partner might discard you without warning or explanation. Or their love and affection might subside gradually until you feel like they despise you or no longer care. While the signs of narcissistic discard can vary depending on the individual and the specific circumstances, here are some common indicators. Impulsivity. It can come out of nowhere. They might just disappear because narcissists are known to be impulsive. So I'm just like skimming it because it's a lot to read. Oh, they might notice something they do not like about you. No, they won't notice it. They will find something or make something up. Even something insignificant like the way you tie your shoes or answer the phone and decide to leave the next day. Trust me, it's not your fault for tying your shoes like that or answering the phone like that. They have already got something going on and they have just decided that's what they're doing. Many narcissists lack the desirability for commitment, so they pull away as soon as things get serious. Oh, those ones. Actually, I'll probably forget. I'm going to try and come back to that point, but I'll probably forget. They will often find superficial reasons to break up with you rather than admitting they do not want commitment. In some cases, they find a new source of supply to boost their ego and give them attention so they no longer need you. Projection and shift blame. Yes, they will blame you for everything. They will twist everything around to be your fault. It says they might say, you are the one who is driving us apart. Yes, they will do all that. Turning ice cold. Yes, the love bombing phase is long gone and they may have been hot and cold for a while, but suddenly they turn ice cold. They become emotionally distant. Yeah, because they didn't love you. They only like love bombed you when they needed you to be connected to them for a reason. Sorry, that would hurt to hear because it does at that time. Because your brain still like thinks that they're like a nice, normal person that loves you, and you're like, no, they're different to other ones. This is different. It just takes so long for you to break out of the brainwashing and stuff and to realize, oh, they're an abuser. So it's really hard to hear that. Sorry. Your attempts at being physically and emotionally intimate will be rejected, and when you try to talk to them, they will brush you off. Yeah, they'll make you feel so horrible. That feels so bad. If you notice any of these signs, it's likely narcissistic discard. They found a new supply, i.e., a new girl. It says they're non-committal, enjoy playing games in relationships, which includes having affairs and juggling multiple partners at the same time. That is just narcissist 101. Even if you have clear evidence, they'll still deny it and gaslight you into believing you are seeing things or just being jealous. Oh, yes. So, yes, when they get accused of cheating, they turn it on you and they go off. And the more they go off and blame you, the more they've cheated, the more guilty they are. Can you imagine if your partner came to you and said, you're cheating? And you're like, no, I'm not. You're not gonna like go off at them and start bringing up things and attacking them. You're just gonna go, where'd you get this information? No. So just always think, what would I do? How would you respond to things? And when they're responding like a pork chop, there's a reason. Heightened abuse, yes. They will drop the facade of being charming. Yeah, if they've decided they're done with you as a supplier, like if they're just generally done, like that's a good thing because they're not going to stalk and try and kill you because they need you. Like they might have found new supply for whatever reason. They might decide, oh, I'm done with that supply, which is really sad, but a blessing in disguise. You have no idea how much of a blessing in disguise it is. But so during that, they're probably going to drop the facade of being charming, loving, and caring. They'll actually show you a little bit of them inside, which is just this horrible, heartless, evil person. And you'll just be like, where's that person I love? And it's so hard for you to grieve because you also have to realize that person never existed. That is such a mindfuck. I've been through that in a separate situation where I had to grieve for someone and also realize they were just playing a character and they were just like faking so much and lying and all that stuff. And so it was like I was not only grieving for them, but also grieving and accepting the fact that they never actually existed. Like it was all just fake. And like honestly, self-care, self-love, like if you're going through this, you're going through so much. You're going through a lot. Like be kind to yourself. You deserve it. Like honestly. So it says they're going to drop that facade. They're going to become increasingly aggressive and hostile towards you. And of course, you're going to blame yourself and try everything you can to make things go back to how they used to be. Oh, please don't blame yourself. But we all do it. But don't. It's not your fault at all. None is your fault. Nothing. They've been this person their whole lives. This is what they do to people. They will continue to become more and more abusive until eventually they discard you. It says if you're being abused, you should try and leave. Well, yeah. Reasons the narcissist discards you. It's rooted in their own self-centered and manipulative nature. Even if the relationships seem caring, committed, and loving initially, people with narcissistic tendencies, it says, are complex. It's more than that. I'm just scrolling now, and not pressing stop or anything. I'm just going to keep talking. It's important to remember the narcissist discards someone. The reasons are rooted in their own distorted perceptions. They enjoy using people for their own gain, and if another person somehow interferes with this, they are discarded. Here are some common reasons of discard. Lack of attention and control. Oh yeah, like someone with self-worth, they don't want that. A smart girlies, that like they don't want that. I mean, no offense to like people like me where they stayed and really, really wanted them and like stalked them because I'm not that smart. But yeah, if you are not able to be controlled and you're not giving them that, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. And then like some little side piece goes, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. They're like, oh, I'll go for that because it's all about my ego. So it's such a blessing in disguise when they discard, but you don't know it at the time. So I'll stop saying that. Narcissists require constant attention, admiration, and validation from others, known as narcissistic supply, to maintain their inflated self-image. It's almost impossible to provide a narcissist with the level of supply they require. So when they inevitably, as in not your fault, feel you are not giving them enough, they may discard you. Additionally, if they feel they are losing control over you, example, if you set boundaries, set your boundaries, queens, they may discard you in response. Oh, sad, lost a narcissist. What a pity, RIP. I can say this now, but I honestly feel for you if you're going through this. Their ego dictates that everyone should submit to them, so standing up for yourself will not be welcomed by a narcissistic person. Duh. Narcissistic injury. Oh. When a narcissist's grandiose and superior sense of self is challenged, they experience narcissistic injury. Yeah, like when you call them out on their bullshit, it injures them. They don't like it. Their pride and ego. They can become extremely enraged by being questioned or criticized and discard you as punishment or as a means of protecting their fragile self-image. It's such a blessing in disguise. I just keep saying that. You can't see it now, but you'll see it one day. Boredom. Yeah, boredom. Just want someone new. Also, the thing I want to talk about before, it's all about commitment. So, the one that went to prison, the bad one, right? He'd got engaged to the person before me. However, he was with them for like 7 years and he never married them. And he had several, I can't say how many because we're not giving identifying information, kids with him. And I'm like, and he came across as this like love bombing, oh my gosh, I want to marry you so bad, blah, 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 all that crap. And he got engaged to her like within weeks or something. And then never married. And I said, why? Like, why? Like, you were so like, I want to marry you and everything to me. So obviously you were like that in that case because you got engaged quite early. but then you never married. And then went through pregnancy, childbirth, and over and over and over until you had the amount of kids that I will not disclose. And it's just like, why would you have gone all those years? Like when you were so desperate, let's start, that you had to get engaged like straight away. And then with me, acted like, yep, we're getting married like now, like let's get engaged. Let's get married. Like when he like started that whole thing, it was just like this urgency. Of course it is. And just like, yeah, I really want to marry you. And we ended up only just being like engaged, but not married and stuff like that. So I think they don't commit. They only get engaged because they're trying to get you trapped, like in a way, like enough that you're trapped, but they don't want to get married and have any like legal responsibility. They want to be able to just keep being like abusive little rats or whatever. But yeah, so when it said they don't like committing, I thought that person was really like, I want to commit, I want to commit. But then I thought, wait a minute, he didn't marry them and he didn't marry me. But then I talked to his other victim and they were like, I was like, oh, you didn't get married. And she said, like, because she kept trying to leave. It was the same situation. Like, it doesn't take long before the abuse starts and you start leaving, get hoovered back, leaving, hoovered back, leaving, hoovered back. So I do. And then there was like a really bad person. Yeah, I do. Some do go through with the wedding. I, like the pedophile one that I have kind of touched on, but haven't said too much about. They went through with the wedding and they didn't mean it. They just did it. They were literally, I believe that the criminal one, the bad abuser, wanted to get married to trap. And I believe that with the one before me, the children was what he felt was trapping her. They just want to trap you. They don't actually have a romantic bone in their body and want to commit or have a like wedding. They just want to like put more barriers into preventing you from leaving to continue that control they have over you. That doesn't mean like if they're trying to marry you, have kids with you, get engaged to you, move in with you, put up these like barriers that will stop you from leaving them. That doesn't mean they're not going to do a narcissistic discard. They can marry you and the next day discard you. Oh, they would love that. They would love that because it causes you more pain, which inflates their little precious egos even more. They would love it. So don't think because they put things in to keep you, they want to keep control of you. But if they decide, oh no, I'd rather just go and do this, or I'm going to leave this person, they will leave. They will not stay. It doesn't mean they're committed to you. It just means they expect you to be completely committed and controlled by them. So it's pretty bleh and sick. So I'll just quickly, I say quickly, don't I? But I never mean it. Finish reading this on simplypsychology.org. How to cope with narcissistic discard. Being discarded by someone you thought you loved and had a future with is painful, especially when done in an abusive and/or indifferent way. Here are some strategies. Acceptance. It's essential to acknowledge and validate your emotions and reality of the situation. Accept it's occurred and recognize that it's not your fault. Educate yourself. Learn about narcissists. Learn all about narcissistic abuse. Google, get your Googles, get your YouTubes, get your podcasts. Aren't you here now? Hi. And just deep dive. Like I deep dived into everything like that and learned so much. And you're not learning it based on just like reading and hearing things like me talking. You're learning about other people's experiences, like what I've shared, and gone, yes, that was so alike. Yes. Oh my gosh, he did that too. Yes. And those are the penny drop moments where it's like, this is a thing. Like, this is actually a thing. It gets freaky. You think they've all been handed the how to be a abusive DV narcissist perpetrator 101 book, how-to guide, and they follow each step because the similarities are ridiculous at times. While they do things different at times, it's like freaky. And even the things they say, like I've read things before and the quotes the men say in some of these articles, it's like word for word what I've heard from a narcissist and others have reported that has been said to them. It's really quite freaky. So yes, educate yourself. Next is avoid falling into a rescue mindset. Resist the urge to save the narcissist or fix the relationship. Oh, we've all been there. We've all thought we can fix them, help them. I mean, they come up with a variety of excuses. There was a period of time, I will admit, and I haven't actually said this on the podcast before yet, where that one that went to prison for the DV, he had me convinced, oh, it's so embarrassing, that his, well, no, right. He had diabetes, and that's not really an identifying thing because if someone, not everyone knows your medical history, so it doesn't really identify someone, and I know other people with diabetes, so whatever. And he had convinced, like I was like, oh, you told me you were diagnosed with that. I'm like, when do you prick your finger and do your sugars? Oh, I don't really bother. Oh, okay, so you're taking all these meds. It's a lot of meds. Like, do you just know your sugars are good? Like, how do you check that they're going okay and you're managing it well? And he's like, oh, I don't really bother. And he'd be doing like this violent thing and everything. And one day I'm like, check your sugars. And I'm like, because you just ate like this huge bowl of like ice cream with like ice magic and all this stuff. Just see how it's going. And his sugars were, I've never seen them, never seen sugars as high as that. You get like the highest reading the thing can have, or just the HI, like high, like 30 something, like ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, that's not good. You're gonna have to go and see a doctor and like figure something out, and you're gonna have to start testing more regular, documenting what you're finding, and go to your doctor and actually do something, or you're gonna lose your leg. Like my first ward when I was in a baby RN many years ago, many years ago, not, it was where we cut off limbs because of diabetes, and there might have, no, we didn't really. It was mostly just, yeah, diabetics who lost legs and everything because of diabetes, and I had a relative that went through that as well. So I knew all about that, but I wasn't one of those like weird like nurses. It's like, why are you eating that? What are you doing? I wasn't all like making it about me and my insecurities and projecting and being like, I don't know if you know much about nurses, but there's some that are really like, oh my gosh, you have to like, you have that diagnosis. Like, why are you putting that in your mouth? Like, what do you like? Just criticizing people? Like, that does not help. So, but I was like, yeah, you probably like you have diabetes. Like, you probably shouldn't eat sugar. And that's not good. You're gonna do something about this. So I think he used that to run with as an excuse as to his behavior. So I don't know how we sort of linked it. I don't know if he kind of like, yeah, he would like, because he would just snap in and out of like Jekyll and Hyde, and it usually be at night. But it turns out he had planned to do it then because he was planning to do it to convince his offspring that I was evil and stuff and shout out things about me and do like he had this whole plan to make them hate me, and it was really really weird. Like you're just not right in the head, buddy. But and I believe after some violent offense or something, he then went, oh, I can't help it, like started doing the victim talk, like it's really bad that this is happening. Like I just do it and I feel like, it's not me. I'm such a victim. That kind of talking. And I don't know if like where I linked in, like, let's do your sugars, and then saw that they were super high. And then so he used the opportunity to say, oh, yeah, like because you can have behavioral disturbance with extremely high sugars. You can have this like psychosis thing with extremely high blood sugars. And he was having extremely high blood sugars. So I looked into that, and I'd had a patient myself that had that. So it was like, let's run with that. So we ran with that, and he loved that because he was a victim of a medical illness and he had no control, except for if one of his kids was walking around the corner, he suddenly pulled his arms back and like, hi, how you going? After like torturing me and beating the living crap out of me. Like he had full control whenever and whenever he wanted. It was all bullshit. But you hope. You want to know. And so I was like, you've been groomed and loved by this person. You believe this is your person. You're in a relationship with them. You have plans for the future. So you want something to be wrong. So I ran with that. And I'm so glad I'm sharing this with you today because I ran with that thinking, this is it. And so he went to the doctor and he would always imply like, oh, I want you to come to the doctor, but he would intentionally make appointments when I was at work. And like he knew my roster. And he would intentionally make appointments when I was at work and go, oh, I want you to come. You know why? He needed to isolate me from his doctor because he couldn't have his doctor meet me and think, oh, she's nice, like she cares and stuff. Because he wanted to be able to go to them and say, she's abusing me, she's bad, she's this, she's that, and use like them against me, me against them. So he could not let me ever meet them because they do that. They will use anyone. They will use anyone and anything around them to isolate you, abuse you, and get control. And they're just gross. They're gross. So he got it managed, changed all the meds and everything he was on, after I encouraged him to seek that about his health and would check them more often and everything. And he never stopped being abusive. It wasn't that. And I look back and felt like a bit of a fool because I I had told people like my boss and people like, oh, it's this diabetes thing. Because like I had to hold on to that. And his sugars were really high when he was like flipping into this person that he wasn't really. It was an act. He was acting like he was flipping in and out of like this other person that he had no control over. And he tried the spiritual thing once, like, oh, it's not me, and all this stuff. But like the thing about that is when you start feeling sorry for them, like they have no control, there's something else. It's, can they stop their behavior if someone walked in the room that they don't want to abuse you in front of? Do they abuse you in broad daylight in front of people at the shops or your family or anything? Like, do they just do it all the time, or do they stop that behavior in certain social settings? If they have control to stop that behavior in certain settings, they have control. They are choosing it. The desire to beat you up will still be there and be like violent and not necessarily beat you up, sorry, like, the violence of like emotional abuse and psychological abuse. They still have that inert desire in there, but they're acting on it and they're choosing when and where. They're not a victim of it. They're not the victim. So if they can have that control, then there's your answer. So, but there's been no like negative health things. Like they just seem to be like, I think I have a feeling they're stuck on Earth until they learn a lesson. And so they just live these long, long, long lives because they've got a lot to learn. And I don't know, that's theory. So there you go. That is embarrassing to sort of think that but I want you to know that I was in a situation where I was gripping onto like anything, like, no, it's this, it's not him. Yes, he's not abusive. Now that his sugars are under control, like everything's gonna be okay. And a week later, something like, oh no, it's him. And that realization when he started abusing me, when his sugars were fine, it was like, oh my gosh. It was just this sinking feeling and this warmth comes over your face and your body and you feel sick and you're like, this is real. This is real. This guy is evil and abusive. Like, because there was a period of time where he'd like abuse me and then do his sugars and go, look, see, they are high. But then once his sugars got under control and he's still abusing me and then he does it again and again, it's like, oh. And then like we just dropped that because we just realized, no, you're an abuser. You know it. I'm not the first victim. Like, you know it. He's been doing this long before he had the diabetes. Anyway, I wouldn't know what his status with all that health is now because it's been a long, long, long time. So more advice from this simplepsychology.org article says the next thing you should do is seek support. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, or a support group who can provide empathy, understanding, and a listening ear. Okay, my hot tip with that is watch who you tell. Uh, it's a tricky one. Like, you're trauma bonded and you're like, oh, this is really bad. If you end up going back to them and you've already told everyone like what happened, it's going to be really hard. But I think you have to tell people because you need people to say, don't go back, don't go back, don't go back. Because I used to think, oh, I wish I hadn't told people because. And so I started like, I wouldn't tell anyone anything that was happening with him because I just thought how humiliating if I end up in a relationship back with him and everyone hates me and thinks I'm dumb because I'm with this, guy, and they all think I'm stupid and blame me for it. But the thing is that you can get saved. Like if you tell your friends and family, oh, he did this and he did that and he just dumped me, and then you go back to him like and they hate him, you might feel rotten about that, but it's what drove me to leave that one when I was younger because realizing, well, no one's coming to the wedding, no one likes him. So it actually can be a protective factor. We call it like something that can save you down the line and like rescue you from this person. So yeah, seek support, tell people. Just you've really got to tell trusted people. When it says trusted friends, man, don't tell the gossip at your work or anywhere, like, because people talk and society is coming around to treating DV survivors and victims and a little bit better, but they still don't know about narcissists very much, unless only people who've dealt with narcissists in their life understand narcissists. So you can still be judged, like women can still be judged for going through this. And I've seen that myself in my own experience. It is improving, but there's still judgment there. So just but do talk. You got to talk to someone. DV services are great. You can just debrief with them. It's so good talking to someone who gets it, someone who's gone through it themselves or is a DV support worker who's heard all the stories and is educated and knows what they're talking about. It is so good because they just say, yeah, that's what they do. That's normal. You're okay. And oh, you feel that way? That's normal. It's okay. And guess what? Guess what? It's not your fault. It's so refreshing. All right. Next one. Try to view the discard as a blessing in disguise. I said that, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah. It is, but you don't know now. You don't know now. In hindsight, in the future, you're going to look back and go, oh, she was right. It is a blessing in disguise. But right now, oh, the burning and the pain in the guts and the withdrawals and then just longing for them and oh, ugh. But trust me. Trust me. Oh, never trust a man who says trust me though. It is a blessing in disguise. It is completely normal to not get that at first. It takes hindsight. So looking back from the future, and that is normal. Set boundaries. Get your boundaries on. Establish firm boundaries to protect yourself from further harm or manipulation. Cutting off contact with them. Zero contact is the only way to get a narcissist out of your life. You may not want them out of your life because you don't realize what's going on and whatever, but if you get to that way of thinking, you think, that wasn't healthy, just remember zero contact's the only way forward. Away, because any contact is them like putting claws into you. It's them manipulating you and convincing you that you should be theirs or something. Like it just keeps the pain and abuse and crap going on longer. Every time they have one word or even a text, you think, oh, I won't talk to them, but they'll text you. Those texts get in your brain and like their little claws are in there. Like, no, you don't want to hear one word from them. They ain't worth one word. Therapy. Yes. Find a psychologist. If you don't like them, find another psychologist. Keep looking until you find one that's a good fit that you can actually talk to and they're not snobby or judgmental or weird or anything. Like, find someone that really suits you and that you feel safe to talk to. Also highly recommend DV services and if they provide anyone to talk to there, those kind of things. But you need to talk to someone and you need to start doing it and do it as regularly as you can. I mean, depending on your situation with like costs and everything like that and how you can access and who you can access, like sometimes DV services are free or low cost. Counselors can be low cost. Psychologists can be more expensive, depends where you live. Or you can, like in Australia, there are some that bulk bill. It just depends. I started seeing my psychologist while I was in the abusive relationship. I'm trying to remember why. I'm assuming I started seeing them because I would think that the abuser made me think and realize I need to see a psych. I think he would have said, you need, like when they're trying to deflect what they're doing to you. Because it was during the abuse, like after he'd started abusing. So I'm assuming he started trying to put me down and say, you're this and you're that, and you need to go speak to someone or something. Like, I never would have consciously picked it up and believed it 100%. It would have been like, good on you, mate. But there was obviously some reason and connection to the abuse, which is why I went, yeah, I should go and talk to someone. He might have been doing what someone did on a TV show in Australia running at the moment in Married at First Sight, where they used someone's past relationships against them. They went, oh, well, you've been through bad relationships, so that's why I'm treating you like this. Like, they blame their behavior in the current tense on the fact that you've been through not good relationships in the past and stuff, and say, oh, you bring that into this. I don't really remember why. Maybe I think I felt like I was clearly suffering the effects of narcissistic abuse, but not really understanding that. And so I thought, oh, maybe I should try and get one, just have someone to talk to now and then. Maybe I'll see if that. I honestly can't remember, but it obviously has something to do with the abuse because of the timing. And then I remember I was going to them, and I remember when I wasn't with them at one point and the grief I had, and I'd come in and my brain was just saying, it was just, my brain was obsessed with them. And it was just, and I was saying, everything is about them in your head right now, isn't it? And I was like, yep. And I was just having such grief. And this is just one point in the relationship. I don't know when that was. Probably one of the first few times I tried to leave, I would say. And it was probably the first time I tried to leave. Trauma bonded, and I would just go in there and say, I know this is trauma bond. I knew, I had insight, but I was like, oh, it feels so bad. My brain. And I was like, I know I shouldn't be with them, but I really want to, everything in me. And yeah, and I would talk to her about that, and she was so kind. There would be some that would say, oi, you're a dickhead, piss him off and don't speak to him again, you fool, and just put you down and make you feel like shit, which actually drives you into the arms of an abuser even more. So, yeah, and now, I'm still, yeah, it was good. So I was very lucky to find and be referred to a very good one, but it is tricky. So I ask you to don't hate yourself if you make an appointment, go there or talk to them on the phone or whatever and meet them and you're like, I don't feel right about this. It's okay. Find another one. It's not you. It's not you. You'll just find the right match soon. And it's frustrating when you have to change, but it'll be good. Okay, and the last thing is self-care. Prioritize self-care and self-love during this challenging time. Engage in activities that bring you joy and relaxation, both physically and emotionally, such as exercise, proper nutrition, and sufficient rest. Get near nature. That's my hot tip. Practice self-compassion and be patient with yourself as you heal. Oh, frequently asked questions. Does the narcissist think about you after discard? Right. I remember thinking this. Is he thinking about me? Who gives a shit? Fuck him off. Okay, that's where I'm at now, but I know where you're at now. They would think about you because they would think, yeah, I showed her. I really got control of her. That was good. Oh, I bet you she's crying over me right now. Oh, she tried to text me the other day. Oh, they'd think those kind of things. They're not really thinking what you want them to be thinking. I remember being in that headspace and thinking, are they pining for me? Are they out there looking up at the stars? And when he tried to pull this shit with me, I was looking at the stars and thinking, is she looking at them as well? He's so full of shit. There's no way he's outdoors looking at stars, sitting on his ass inside. What a crock of shit. I sound so Australian then. This says, I want to read this to you. It says, narcissists are black and white thinkers. Either they adore you or despise you. When they have discarded you, they can no longer see your good qualities or feel positive emotions for you. This is called spitting. Once you make a mistake or they notice something they do not like about you, you become all bad to them. Okay, once you make a mistake, you are not the cause of this person's behavior. I don't like that. I think what they mean is in their eyes, like, yeah, the way you tie your shoelaces, that's a mistake. It's over. You have not done anything wrong. You've not made a mistake. So don't perceive it like that. Two, like, I get that theory, but in my example, he would only be super nice and groom and love bomb to get what he wanted. And then, oh, I hate you, to get a different reaction. It's all just getting reactions and getting what they want. I guess the discard, like when they're totally done with you and it's like, that's it. Moving on to the next one. Dead to me. Yeah, they wouldn't think about you and they would probably just convince themselves that you were bad and not for them and just boom, you're gone. Like, because they don't have that empathy and they don't have that heart. So I agree with that part of it. But they can be hot and cold in order to get the response that they want. So just because someone's acting all discardy doesn't mean they can't just be acting groomy and hoovery the next minute. Do they come back? They may come back. It's not because they realize their true feelings for you or have actually changed. It's because they're in need of attention or want to manipulate you. They believe that you are a reliable source of supply and thus lean on you whenever they need a boost. Yep. They can come back but not come back. They can come back in a I'll use you on the side fashion. Just another source of the attention they need. You may not hear from them for weeks, months, or even years, and then suddenly you get a call or a text as if nothing happened. If you're going through this right now, I know how I was when I was trauma bonded. Don't you dare. I know what you're thinking. I'll just hold out. Maybe one day they'll come back. You got to cut all those ties, like, over time. Give yourself time and grace. Just know that it's normal to feel like extreme love for these people because of what they've done to your brain and the psychological bullshit, psychological warfare, psychological torture, I've heard it referred to. Like, be kind to yourself, but don't you don't be like, oh, but I know I would be like that. I'd be like, maybe one day. And then I'd secretly hope that in the time it takes for them to come back, that I've healed and disconnected from them mentally anyway. But yeah, you hold on to anything you can when you've got that whole, oh my gosh, I miss them kind of brain happening. What happens if you ignore them after they've discarded you? If they've discarded you, it usually means they've cut you out of their life, at least for the time being. Yeah, it can be 5 minutes, 5 years. Thus, they are unlikely to notice that you are ignoring them. However, they may not have discarded you entirely and keeping you on the sidelines in case they need some supply. They might contact you again and expect a response. So if you ignore them then, they're going to feel like they've lost power over you. To re-establish their power, they will attempt to get a response and emotional reaction by any means possible, including hoovering and baiting tactics, like they might say something mean to get a reaction. Or they might be super nice to make you think you're going to get back together just so they can get that, yeah, she still wants me, and then they'll dump you again. They could dump you again. You don't know. Either or. And that's it. That is it. So, simplepsychology.org. That was. I'm going to go. I've talked too much. It's been a big one. Really super, super big episode. But that's what you get. That's what you get when I share all the things. I have 2 requests of you. 1, I'm going to mix it up this week, do the opposite. Email me at liabfpodcast@gmail.com. Tell me your story. Or tell me, you know how I have like 70,000 stories within one relationship and like 20,000 from other ones? Just tell me one of your stories. Tell me, Risa Tisa me, share me something. Just tell me something that happened. I'll share it. I'll tell everyone. You know, I don't know if you follow Jolly Good Ginger on TikTok, but he says, you make it, what does he say? Public? I'm going to make it publicer. Well, not many people really follow me. So you make it public, I'll make it public-ish. All right. I don't know if you follow that person on TikTok. You probably don't. You're probably not even on TikTok. You're like, oh my gosh, you're on TikTok. You're so like silly. Like, why you're on TikTok? Like, shut up, it's amazing. Okay. And the other request is stay safe, safety first, and it's not your fault. All right, legends, love you. Bye.